Welcome back to Your Story Medicine. I am your host, Juma Kay, and this series was created as a way to respond to the times, hopefully in a way that is better suited for our nervous systems. And so I just want to thank all of you who are choosing to tune into these stories of resilience, of amazing people who I have the privilege to be in community with, who are on this path of reclaiming and preserving their ancestral medicine. So today we have an amazing guest. Of course, all of my guests are amazing, but Danellia is extra special because at the time of us doing this interview, this is the week of her rebirth. So if you are watching
Aw.
live or catching the replay, show her some love, give her some it's a happy solar return energy because there's so much that's being birthed, and actually we'll dig more into that. That's literally, metaphorically. But who is Danellia? So Danellia holds close to her heart the stories and wisdom of her grandmother and her great grandmothers, who were the women who helped other birthing folks before the medical industry took that away from us. She calls in her guides and ancestors who led her into this work as she reminds birthing folks of their innate wisdom and strength throughout their pregnancy, birth, and postpartum journey. Through her offerings as a birth doula, in her online and in person classes, and her postpartum support, she helps parents return to their true selves through education, advocacy, and intergenerational healing for a better world. On top of that, she's also a singer and songwriter for this incredible band called the Corner House Long Beach. And also, if you're following her journey on Instagram, she is telling stories of what it's like to be a surrogate mother and so much more. So, welcome, Danelia. I'm so grateful to just have you in my life and to be able to be a witness to your stories.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Whew. Sounds like a lot.
Receive it, receive it.
Yes.
So, Danelia, tell us more about, well, first of all, where is it you're calling from? And in your own words, what is your medicine?
Yeah. So I'm calling from Long Beach. I'm not far from you. I live here with my daughter, who is the first part of my medicine. First and foremost, I'm a mother and a protector and a nurturer to my 8-year-old. So I'm a single mom. I live here in Long Beach with my daughter, and then my mom actually lives right next door to us. So we're somewhat of we're in an intergenerational living situation. So that's a lot of fun. I'm also, like you said, a full spectrum birth worker, birth keeper. So I specialize in labor and birth, helping families through that transition, through that sacred rite of passion, or passive. Um, and I also do postpartum care. So I go into the homes of my clients who give birth, and I take care of them and kind of just nurture them just like we would nurture a new baby. We take care of the mom so that the mom can take care of their new child. And then I also teach childbirth education. Like you mentioned, I have online classes and in-person classes. I'm a co-founder of a community space here in Long Beach called La Fuente, Birth, Postpartum, y Más. And there we host monthly support groups for new families, and that's where I teach my classes. And then we also welcome other community members who teach different types of workshops and have host them there so that they can share their medicine as well. And like you mentioned, I play music. That's been my medicine mostly during this quarantine time, just really exploring my creativity and trying to infuse my work in that creativity as well. So that's what I do.
I think you're doing so much more than just trying. You're actually doing the darn thing. And I think one of the beautiful things we have been exploring in our journey together is this connection between our voice or speaking our truth and how that actually ties into the experience of our womb space and birthing. So I also feel like that within itself is a means of reclamation, especially when we equate art and creativity to consumption or just trying to constantly produce without embracing it as a spiritual experience and as a means to heal generations before and after us. So,
Absolutely.
so tell us more about how this journey of reclamation with your voice and your womb ties into your ancestral lineage, and how is it influencing the way that you're showing up today?
Yeah. So a big part of my growth and my expansion as an artist, as a creator, has been the influence of my grandmother, who passed away in March of last year. So it's been a year that she has left us. And right before she passed away, I had the privilege of sitting with her and interviewing her and recording our conversation. And I spent about 3 to 4 hours with her and just really like listened to her and listened to all the stories she had to tell me. And I'm so grateful for those experiences because it allowed me to preserve her history. And this was actually before I joined the band. When I joined the Corner House in October of last year, that really opened up a whole new world of creativity for me because it gave me an outlet to share my voice and share my creativity. So between the time that my grandma passed away and the time that I joined the band, excuse me, I really was called to share my grandma's story. And as a result, my mother's story and my daughter's story, and just the way that these new generations continue to come. And so, as far as that, like how the creativity it manifests itself in my work and in my art, I definitely hold my grandma really really close to me when I'm exploring the creativity, when I'm writing music, when I'm learning new songs. She was one of my biggest supporters. She always supported everything I did. She was always asking me, like, what have you been up to? What have you been doing? And she always pushed me to continue whatever it was that I was putting my heart into. And so I really hold that very close to my heart in everything I do now. And I talk to her all the time. I've really been trying to upkeep my altar and just give her all the honor and praise because I feel her with me all the time. And she really does help guide me through this world in all the aspects of my work and my art. So that's definitely been a very big part of what I'm doing these days.
Hmm. So tell us more about some of the things that you are currently doing to stay grounded. I know that you're also bringing forth a new ancestor into this world on top of holding space virtually for others who
Right.
are becoming parents. So give us your secrets.
Yeah, I've actually been spending a lot of time in nature, so outside. I'm really fortunate. I have this beautiful home that is in a very quiet neighborhood, and so there's a ton of birds around all the time. I spend a lot of time in my garden with my flowers. We have a ton of rose bushes that are in bloom right now. And so my daughter and I just spend a lot of time outside, just listening to the birds, watching them, like looking. There's a new set of baby birds that they just hatched in our house, actually, like right outside of our house. The mom laid her eggs there in a nest, and so we've just been watching them. And so really just taking it slow and taking time to enjoy nature and all of the beautiful blessings that are right in front of us that we tend to ignore when we're always on the go rushing. And that was my life before the quarantines, before the stay-at-home order. Like, I was always going somewhere, I was always on the move. And now it's been this beautiful gift to be able to stop and kind of smell the roses, like literally and figuratively, right? um, and and again, I find a lot of peace there, and I find a lot of connection with my ancestors there, in the plants, in the roses, with the birds. There's a ton of hummingbirds that are hanging out in our yard right now, and we have conversations with them and ask them how their day is going, and they stay and they enjoy it. So that's really been keeping me grounded, like literally putting my feet in the grass and just sitting out there and enjoying the sun has been really, really beautiful medicine.
Hmm. And also, I've had the wonderful privilege of being able to listen to some of the music you've been creating while in quarantine,
Yeah.
and also bringing your daughter along the journey with you, which I feel like oftentimes the narrative of intergenerational healing is I'm doing it for my mother, I'm doing it for the next generation. But if we can invite them on the journey with us, it's just so much more powerful. So, what has been some of the breakthroughs you've experienced since you have taken a stand to be in your truth and commit yourself to healing?
As far as like the intergenerational healing, I mean, like I mentioned, I live very close to my mother. And so before she moved next door to her own house, we were living together under the same roof. And it was the first time in she's maybe 10 to 12 years that we had lived together, because I moved out as soon as I was 18. I left and I never went back. So just being in the same home, and we have a very small home, there's not a lot of space, there's not a lot of room to have privacy or private conversations. And so that really triggered a lot of emotions in me. And as a result, I became very agitated all the time, very irritable. And I found myself taking that out on my daughter a lot. And that tends to happen when you have kids. You know, they're kind of on the receiving end of our stress and our anxiety. And so I found myself doing that very often. And I just thought, like, this needs to stop and I need to figure out what's going on. And so I really had to sit down and ground and reflect on what it was that was affecting me to this level that I was taking it out on my daughter. And so that's when I started to explore our family history and talk to my mom about her relationship with her mom, my grandma, and what was missing, what was lacking, and how has this cycle repeated itself in our family. And that's when the inspiration for the song you're referring to that my daughter sang with me, it's called Mother. That's when that inspiration struck in my dreams, actually. And it just, I was working on it by myself. And then my daughter, she's very musical and very creative herself. And so she kind of just overheard me singing it, and it was very catchy. And so she wanted to participate. And of course I honored that. And then I had the idea of just having her write her own verse to be part of it. And that's when it kind of all came together. It's about the cycles repeating themselves, but then there has to be an end to that cycle. And it starts with her, it starts with me, really. I'm trying to model a different cycle for her to repeat, if should she choose to repeat this positive cycle. And so yeah, it's been pretty amazing to see her. It's been amazing to see it click for her when I maybe do something that I'm not proud of, like lash out at her or react rather than respond. And then I go back and say, you know what, babe, I'm really sorry that I responded that way. I was reacting, not responding. And I should have taken a breath. I should have paused and thought about what I was doing. And just having that really open line of communication with her has been so beautiful. It's not about being the perfect parent. It's about being authentic. And part of our authenticity is messing up a lot. And so just being okay with saying sorry and apologizing and going back and repairing any of the ruptures that may have occurred throughout the day has been really powerful. And it also teaches her that she can do the same thing. She can act out. She can have a fit. She can, get mad and slam doors. But then she knows to come back and reground together, reconnect and repair. So that has been really amazing to watch, just in our everyday lives.
I feel like when adults tend to have that kind of conversation, the response from the other party tends to be, I told you so. And I feel like you being open and vulnerable enough to own up to your mistakes and distinguishing when it is you are reacting out of anger versus love. And by the way, I don't think those are mutually exclusive. Anger and love go beautifully hand in hand. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that how do we not allow those seeds of anger to turn into violence? But I'm
Right.
curious, how is it that she is responding to you being able to apologize, especially with you as an adult figure?
I think it's very humanizing for her. I think, she's 8 years old. She's very articulate, and she kind of already has picked up on the way that the world treats children as second class citizens, how we kind of just ignore them and they're just there and nobody really listens to what they have to say. Whereas in our home, I really try to make sure that she feels heard, that she has an opinion, that she knows her opinion matters and that it's valued. And so when we have those conversations and I do have to repair and apologize, I think it reminds her that this is possible, that kids can be listened to, that they should be listened to, and that adults aren't always right, and that we don't always have the answers either, that we make mistakes too. So, like I said, I think it's a humanizing experience for her more than anything else.
Man, children are our greatest teachers
They
if we
really
allow,
are.
if we allow them to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been saying that since I had her. Like she's been my greatest teacher. My birth, like giving birth to her, really ignited this fire in me that has led to almost 10 years of this work that I've been doing. And it's been amazing. I mean, I've met so many different people and have been able to show them their own strength and their own power. And all I am is a mirror. I'm just there to reflect that for them. It's not about teaching them what to do or how to give birth or what medications to take or what medications not to take. It's all about helping them engage in their own intuition, which a lot of us have a hard time doing. If, as children, we've always been told not to trust our intuition and do whatever the adults say. So that's where it all comes full circle. Is I'm trying to teach my daughter to trust herself so that when she's an adult, she can make educated, informed decisions without having to question if it's the right decision for her. And and in my classes, in my childbirth classes, I'm teaching adults how to do that, because sometimes it's not until we are in that position to have to make these difficult decisions about, medical interventions or cloth diapers versus disposable diapers or, whatever. There's so many decisions to make when you're a parent, right? Vaccinating or not vaccinating. And so it's not about saying this is what you do. It's about saying tap into what feels right for you. And that's what my class is all about. So it's called conscious childbirth because it's about raising your consciousness so that you can move forward with your child doing what's right, what feels right for you, and with power and with strength and unapologetically.
So I'm hearing how the work you are doing is strengthening the resilience of your daughter, but I'm also curious if you're experiencing the same thing with your mother.
It's it's definitely harder to like integrate these practices with somebody who has been on the earth longer and they're kind of set in their ways. Whereas my daughter, she's an open book. She's still coming into herself. She's still learning what she likes and what she doesn't like. Um, with my mom, it's a little bit harder. She's really trying, and we talk about it all the time. Like, I'll give you a very short example. We'll be going on our morning walk. So we go on a morning walk every day right now. We take our dog out, and let's say my daughter's Corey. Let's say Corey is talking, and then my mom thinks of something, and she'll mention it to me. She'll just cut my daughter off. And so I'll say, you know what, Corey wasn't done finishing her sentence. Let's let her finish and then we can answer your question. And this happens all the time. Whenever I'm talking to adults, they usually don't hear the child that's in the room and they'll just talk over them. And I have to tell the adult, whoever it is, oh, you know what? She was saying something to me. Let's wait until she's done and then we can finish our conversation. And it's amazing how uncomfortable adults are with that response. Um, Honestly, I think because it makes them feel like children again. It makes them feel silenced, like when they were children and they were not heard. And it's like, how dare you? I'm an adult. Why are you going to listen to this kid above me? But that's such an important thing to do for our children in front of other adults, to show them that they are not less than and they are not less important. So going back to my mom, it's more difficult, but it's not impossible. And we are making small strides, I think, with me sharing our story through the song that I wrote. It's definitely opened her eyes to see that I'm not saying like you're the problem. I'm saying that we are all products of our upbringing, and I am choosing to do something different with my daughter. So I need your support, and I need you to honor what you went through, what I went through, and what I want her to hopefully not have to go through.
It's almost like the work you are doing is not only parenting your daughter, but reparenting your own mother. And
Yeah.
I had a reaction because I am thinking about me as an adult now. Anytime I feel shut down or silenced, or I make it about me, when really it's about my own unresolved childhood traumas and wounds. And so I get to do that work on myself first and foremost. And what I'm hearing is that with the work you're doing around conscious parenting, it's almost like you are serving as a means of intervention to heal this cycle or break those cycles of trauma, or the the violent ways we may tend to perpetuate onto our children,
Right.
by learning how to have a better communication. But also, I guess I'm curious about what is it going to take for us to be able to show up for our future generation in a way that is going to break these cycles.
Yeah. That's a really hard question to answer because I don't know. All I know is that we have to continue doing this work. And it's really hard work because it's simultaneous. You're literally working on your own childhood wounds while you're raising a child. And I can't sit here and take all the credit for this work because I didn't learn it by myself. I had a lot of help. I've done classes with Latinx parenting who are amazing and have been doing this work for a while and gave me the tools to be able to do this. I actually took their class with my mom, and that was really amazing, being able to sit with my mom. And it was important to me because we are, co-parenting in a way. I mean, I really do depend on her a lot as a single mom. I need her help. And so I asked her to join me in this class, and she was willing. And interestingly enough, it was around the time that my grandma passed away. So there was a lot that was brought up for her, looking at her own upbringing, and a lot of grief and a lot of regret because it was too late to repair those things, right? Because my grandma had just passed. But I think just inviting our elders to come along with us and to learn with us is probably one way that we can continue to work to ending those cycles of violence. And then like I was explaining with my daughter, just giving children an opportunity to teach us how they want to be treated and teach us what they're needing so that their needs are being met, and so that they don't grow up to be adults who didn't have their needs met, who are struggling to find outside sources to feed their needs now. And also going back to trusting their intuition. Like if we encourage children to trust their inner voice, to trust their intuition, they grow up to be adults who trust their intuition and who don't settle for less than they deserve.
And I think that it's important to acknowledge, even though your grandmother may have passed in this physical realm, we are also doing this healing work alongside them regardless, because they're
Absolutely.
still with us, they're still flowing through our veins. I feel like every time I'm doing healing work on myself and coming back to my center, I am healing alongside the ancestors who I've never met before, but I feel them cheering me on. I feel their support on my shoulders, in my back, and I'm still on that journey of trusting that I'm not alone and that this work is valid and it's important. And even though I cannot quite see what it looks like in the future, that there is this version of me that is cheering me on, that's saying, keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made a good point about saying like we're never really alone, because I just posted about this on my Instagram that I was feeling really bad about having to celebrate my birthday in quarantine and not party, because I love throwing parties for my birthday. I love nothing more than celebrating another year of life with the people I love. And I was feeling really bummed out about it leading up to my birthday. But I spent most of the day by myself, and it felt amazing. And it felt amazing because even though I needed some alone time, I mean, we've been, cooped up in the house for so long. My daughter was busy putting together surprises for me with my mom. And so they let me have some alone time. And I realized like, I'm not alone. This is my time to connect with my future and past ancestors, my guides, whoever it is that's looking after me, I feel a strong connection to my grandma and also my brother, who I lost a couple of years ago. I feel like they've really opened up so many opportunities for me and have inspired me to make decisions that I'm not afraid to make, like stepping out of my comfort zone and auditioning for a band that I had just met, like,
They're
and
so good too, by the way. I just need to be like, you guys are phenomenal.
thank you. Thank you. I miss them a lot. It's been hard being away from them too, um but I think just honoring that, and a lot of, for me at least, a lot of the insecurities I used to have about being alone were because I didn't know myself. I didn't know myself or love myself enough to be alone with myself. And so that's been a lot of my own healing work, is just going back to self-love and self-reflection, and honestly just building a relationship with myself and honoring that, honoring my time alone, honoring time to speak with myself, check in, see how I'm doing. And as someone who works with a lot of people and holds a lot of space for people, that's imperative. You have to be able to check in and see, like, okay, am I taking on too much? Am I taking on too much of other people's stuff? When is there time for me to check in with myself and to honor what I'm needing? Because you're trying to meet everyone else's needs. So that's been a really interesting journey, and it's really helped me broaden my work in so many different ways. And so much of what I do is ingrained in what it was like for me to be a new mother. When I'm teaching childbirth classes, I'm taken back to when Corey was a baby, and changing diapers and making all of these major decisions. And so right now, what I'm grounded in is just looking at all of the abundance that is around us in a moment that feels so scarce, when there's like a lack of toilet paper and a lack of diapers and a lack of water, and being able to look around and say, okay, how can we get creative? How can we look at what we're abundant in and lean into that, tap into community, ask for help, go back to our ancestral practices, practice baby wearing in the home to help your baby sleep and to help you get the dishes done, because everyone has, I'm sure, I mean, I only live with two people here, but we have dishes every single day and it's hard to get on top of. So just going back to our old ways in an effort to look at what's really important, which isn't how much toilet paper you've stocked up or how much water you have, right? But I mean, obviously you need to have your basic needs met, but how much sleep are you getting? How much water are you actually consuming every day? How much sunshine are you getting? How much vitamin D are you getting? So that's really been my medicine the last month or so, since all of this started going down.
It's like, how did our ancestors do without some of these things that we've become so dependent on, like diapers and Wi-Fi? And at the same time, this is a beautiful opportunity to bridge our ancestors' ways and the tools that we have available so that we can share our medicine.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think about that all the time. Like, what did they do? What would they do? They would figure it out. A lot of our resilience comes from them,
Yeah.
and it's up to us to figure it out.
So, what is it that you're learning to release as a result of this experience?
Um, right now, I'm working on releasing that scarcity mindset, that mindset that I don't have enough of this, or I wish I had more of this. Getting rid of the idea that there's more scarcity than there is abundance. Because every day when I wake up, we go for a walk and I look around my neighborhood and I think, God, I'm so lucky. I have this area I can walk in, and not worry about too much traffic, or I'm able to walk and see the trees and look at the birds and look at all the plants that are growing. And it's so simple, but it makes me happy. And it's really just about tapping into what brings you joy, what makes you feel joy in your body. What does that feel like? So many of us are disconnected from what that feels like. And for me, that's what it's been lately. I can't say that that's always what it's been, but right now that's where I'm at. So releasing the scarcity mindset, releasing the idea that you don't have enough. I know a lot of people are struggling right now, and there really is not enough. There just really is no money coming in. There's no, resources. But when we look at abundance, it's not about looking at tangible things. It's about looking around and seeing, what can we do together? How can we make something happen? How can we tap into community and work, whatever you have more of, I'll trade you for what I have more of. That's where the abundance comes in. And I've seen so much of that during this time. I've seen so many people willing to give. And I mean, I've had people bring me groceries, because I'm pregnant, and I'm terrified to go to the market because people are acting crazy out there right now. Like, just the nervous energy that's in the air makes me very uncomfortable. And so I've had people bring me things, and that's abundance too, like the ability to go and bring something to a friend who can't really get out right now is such a blessing. So, and I've tried to do the same for others. Every person who stopped by, I keep giving them lemons because I have a ton of lemons on my tree, and that's my abundance. That's my gift, is that I have a ton of lemons, and they're amazing. They're sweet, they're juicy, they're great for making lemonade. And so just really leaning into that and trying to get more creative when it comes to thinking about what we have a lot of, rather than how little we have right now.
Yeah, I think we tend to equate abundance as to just money, and a gentle reminder to everybody, just like your lemon tree, these things come and go. Everything works and flow. And I truly feel like even though things may feel like they are in chaos, I feel like everything is still in alignment, that the universe is still doing the work to bring us back to balance. Even if the medicine that you're receiving from this experience is that, even though money may not be coming in, there still is enough to go around.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I look at my bank account and I'm like, I haven't spent any money because I haven't gone anywhere. One of my like vices is that I love to eat out. And I realized during this time that part of the reason I love to eat out, it's not because I don't want to cook, or I don't want to do the dishes, or whatever the case may be. It's because, as a mom, I'm sure of whoever's watching who is also a parent, you can probably relate. We hardly get to eat a hot meal. By the time we feed our kids and finally have the energy or a moment to sit down and eat, our food's usually cold. And so I realized that during this time, that my gift to myself is getting a hot meal because no one's sitting here cooking for me. So but I'm also realizing how much I love to cook and how much I love to make food that my daughter loves, and that she gobbles up real quick. That makes me feel good. That brings me joy, knowing that I'm nourishing her through my food, through my gift of food for her. So it's the small, it really is about the small things right now for me. It's about really tapping into those little things. And when it comes to like a shortage of money, for example, I mean, we as birth workers, it's been really hard because so many hospitals have changed their policies to where they won't even let their partners in to the labor and delivery room with them. And that's been really hard. So we're having to hold space for clients over the phone or over FaceTime. Some folks have canceled their contracts because they can't have their doulas there. And so it's been really hard. But still, the community continues to give and to offer whatever we can to help folks through this time, including like online childbirth classes, which are super important, especially if you're going to give birth by yourself or with just your partner, right? Without the help of a doula. Just knowing what to expect, knowing what types of procedures are commonly administered without consent in some cases. And so knowing how to advocate for yourself, knowing about pain medications and what your options are. Those are all super important details that you can find in a childbirth class like my own, but there's a ton out there right now. And then just also having a community, like with my class, we have an online group that is there so that people can tap into each other and ask questions and not feel alone in the fears that they're having or the concerns, or just getting an extra opinion on whatever it is they're doing or they're considering. So that's really important right now more than ever, is to have a community of folks who understand what you're going through.
I think a lot of us fall into this notion of I can do it myself, but I know for me, I thrive off of community. And so I think that if we can also lean into this energy that we are all interconnected, that we're also opening up the gateways to allow abundance to flow.
Yes, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
what is one ritual, practice, or words of wisdom you would like to share?
Um, so I'm big on breath work. I think the breath is such an important part of our daily lives, and it's been so helpful to me with my clients in labor when they're going through labor surges and just really trying to get them to focus in on their breath. But labor is such a beautiful metaphor for life, right? It's like we are constantly getting thrown these challenges that are uncomfortable. They test our patience, they test our humanity in some cases, but they're temporary. And there's always an end result, right? That is what we're working towards. So using the breath as a tool has been really helpful in all aspects of my life, whether it's helping a client in labor or dealing with my own discomfort in this pregnancy. Just I think it was on my birthday on Wednesday, my my belly popped out like out of nowhere, and I just started getting a lot of discomfort in my abdomen because of the added weight and the added, you know, movement. And so, just taking deep breaths. So what I suggest is breath and tension observation in the body. So noticing, just taking a moment every day to notice, like, am I breathing? Have I taken a deep breath, a deep belly breath? Those are such important breaths because throughout the day we're, moving along. We usually take very shallow breaths, but just taking a moment to take 3 nice deep breaths, fill your belly up with air, and let it go, and just try to keep your exhale as long as possible. Not only is this going to be really great for your blood flow and just oxygenating your blood and getting everything moving, but it tends to bring us into a sense of relaxation and groundedness. And so using this anytime you feel tense, anytime you feel stressed, anytime the fear of whatever is happening in the world starts to get to you, just tapping into that. 3 deep breaths, big belly breaths. So the belly breaths are important because a lot of times when we don't know how to breathe properly, we suck in our stomachs when we take a deep breath. And in reality, we need to be doing the opposite. We need to actually release our belly and just let it plop out, and then take a deep breath. Let it fill up, and then hold it and let it out really nice and slow. And that is a game changer in any stressful, anxious situation. So that I would definitely encourage folks to practice that, and just observe their breathing habits, because a lot of us are not breathing enough.
So let's do that together right now
Yeah.
because uh, we are streaming this live as well. And I am feeling the need for all of us to just take this deep, unapologetic belly breath.
Yeah. All right, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it.
So everyone, if you feel called, you can put your hands on your belly and just let it plop out. So don't try to hold on to it. Just, you can even push it out a little so that it's really big and round. And then just take a deep breath in with your nose and fill it up, letting it expand like a balloon. And then when you fill it up with air, take one more sip of air and then let it out slowly. Just letting that balloon deflate ever so slowly. Let's do it one more time. Take a deep breath, fill up your belly. Let it out ever so slowly. And as it goes out, you feel your shoulders kind of sink with it. Everything just kind of slows down and grounds back into the earth. Such a simple practice, but if we aren't intentional about it, we can miss it. We can miss the opportunity to do it. So yeah, that's been my practice for a long time, and it's my go-to.
Simple and yet so much unlearning to do because so many of us are sucking in our bellies when we
Yeah.
breathe. And also you have a new life growing inside of you. And so I was just imagining if I were to also be carrying a seed, how inhaling, breathing like that with intention is also allowing the seed to expand with me,
Yeah,
especially when so many of us are in a state of contraction.
absolutely. Yeah. A lot of my clients, when we do that together, their babies will kick because they feel it. They feel that extra boost of oxygen and it makes them feel good. It's like breathing in love to them. It's very intentional.
So I know that you teach more about this in your virtual platform as well, and that you are empowering parents to essentially have the tools to be able to doula themselves and each other.
Yeah.
But well, I'd love to know what's one action you would like for our listeners to take, and also where is it that people can go to find out more about your work?
Yeah. One action would be to try the deep breathing. It's not just deep breathing. I mean, do that too, but observe like, okay, when this happened, I held my breath. Or when this happened, my heart started beating really fast and I was taking very quick, shallow breaths because I was in stress mode. Like, not only using that breath, the deep belly breathing as a form of groundedness and relaxation, but also observing when our breaths are not enough. Like, we're not providing enough oxygen for these stressful situations. And what are our triggers? What are the things that are causing us to have these moments of shallow breaths or are literally holding our breath? Um, a lot of times, a sign that we're doing that is having clenched fists, having a clenched jaw, doing this a lot. We're pursing our lips and we're holding that in, or also a lot of tension in the eyebrows. So just a lot of this, right? I do this a lot too. So just being aware of that tension and how the breath correlates with that, and then being very intentional about trying to calm it all down and lowering the shoulders and trying to just re-ground back down towards the earth, because that's what brings us back down so that we can cope and move along in our lives. So trying that, I call it a breath and tension observation. So observing your breath and observing the tension in your body and how they relate. It teaches us a lot about ourselves. It teaches us a lot about our lives when we do that. So try that. Let us know how it works for you. Let us know if you observe anything in particular that stands out.
Well, I
And
just want to, what I want to say about being aware of how we carry tension in our body is that I've told myself when I'm an elder, I want to have smile wrinkles. I think
yeah.
that wrinkles can tell amazing stories. But lately, I've been experiencing wrinkles between my brows, and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I actually holding a lot of tension in my face?
Yeah,
So,
I have them too. I have them too. I have them too. It's
yes.
all good. I mean, I like to think that I have them because when I talk, I'm very expressive in my face, and so I do this a lot with my eyebrows, and then I get these wrinkles up here, and I'm like, it's all good because you're able to see what I'm feeling when I'm talking about what I love to talk about. So they're good wrinkles.
Yes, there's no such thing as bad wrinkles, but
Exactly.
where they show up can be evidence of where it is we're carrying tension and also an invitation to do work on that part of ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So tell us more about where people can find you
Yeah.
and
Okay.
what is it that you're cooking up?
Sure. So I have a couple of different places you can find me. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Mami Amor Birth, which is my individual business. It's MAMI, the word amor, MAOR, and then birth. Also, our community space here in Long Beach is La Fuente LB on Instagram and Facebook. La Fuente means the fountain. So the idea behind that is that we are the meeting point for folks to come get their buckets and their cups full and take it back out into their community. So that's La Fuente LB. Yeah, LB. And then you can find my music and my creative stuff over at my personal page, which is at Danellia with 6 A's at the end. So Danellia, and then 5 more A's. And then our band page is at the Corner House LB. So if you're interested in some of our music, I hope you are. We do have some really great stuff coming out, and we just came out with a new EP. And one song in particular that is really powerful about immigrants and the lies that are told about immigrants in our country and the true narratives that immigrants really hold. And it's a pretty amazing song. So check that out. It's called Foreign Fog, and that's at our band page at the Corner House LB.
Cool. And I'll go ahead and post those links for anybody who is tuning into the Facebook group and when this gets repurposed into other channels. And also, I was curious about your online course, the conscious parenting one, and if that's only for expecting parents, or if it, like when is the right time for somebody to think about looking at that as a resource.
Yeah, so it's actually called Conscious Childbirth. It's a course geared toward people who are pregnant and expecting a child. The best time to take it would be between 15 weeks to, I'd say, about 32 weeks, because you want to have enough time to work through the material and sit with it and process it and possibly work on it with your support person. It's a 5 week long course. It's all online. And then there is the online community that is built into it, as well as a live session with me after the course. They can pick my brain. They're basically virtual doula sessions that come as part of the package with the course. So anything that there needs to be clarity about or they have specific questions about, I'm there. We have 2 scheduled virtual calls, and I'm able to connect with them in that way, which is super exciting. So it's called Conscious Childbirth, and I'm actually really excited. As a celebration for my birthday, I decided to give a discount code for the course. So I'm giving $100 off to anybody who signs up in the next week. So I will be sharing that link in my bio on Instagram that you can sign up for the discount code. And I'm also offering a free 30-minute baby wearing video on that link as well. So if anybody's interested in learning about baby wearing, I demo 4 different carriers and show how to use them, how to wear them, how they can be helpful to you in your lives, especially right now when there's a lot of fear around safety and health. Baby wearing can be your biggest ally in keeping yourself and your baby healthy, especially as we transition back into the world eventually. Keeping your baby safe and close is the best way to keep them healthy. So that's 2 little gifts I'm giving out after this call.
Yeah, and the reason why I thought it was so important for you to talk more about that is because if you are an expecting parent, or if you know somebody who is an expecting parent, that there is still support available out there. People like Danellia, so many of my guests who I'm bringing on, who are, like I said, reclaiming their ancestors' medicine and preserving it through these virtual channels. And so do not hesitate to reach out for support, because that is how we will allow our abundance to flow.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the course is also open to birth workers. So if you're a birth worker who maybe doesn't teach childbirth education but wants more info to relate to your clients, the class would also be great for someone like that.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Y'all, build up your apocalyptic toolbox.
Yeah.
I got you. We got you. Yes, and then also I encourage you to follow Danellia's page to witness the story of her surrogacy journey, because that has also been so inspiring. I feel like that is a taboo subject, and yet you are showing up and showing out so unapologetically and just radiating. And so I just also thank you for being open with us.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a beautiful experience and very humbling. Um, it's exciting. I mean, I haven't been pregnant in 8 years, almost 9. So it's been interesting, but it's been great. I have no complaints whatsoever.
Yes. And also what I want to say to that is, when we talk about ancestors, they're not just of our blood lineage. And so I see you as as bringing this baby home to their chosen family. So
Yeah. No, thank
so
you.
grateful for you. All right. Love you so much. And
Okay.
thank you. Thank you for just being you. And also happy solar return and
Thank
happy
you.
rebirth.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here.